excited about, because this has been a real hot topic in the TechTV forums, is, you know, Pinokio versus Rotor versus Prophecy versus Rotor versus Pinokio. So, I've been lucky enough to be able to shoot all these and get a really good opinion on all three of these loaders. And we're going to talk about, talk about the Pinokio. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rotor. We're going to talk a little bit about the Prophecy, and where they're similar, where they're different. Obviously, as you know, all three of these loaders come in at about $150 each. Okay, so price, there's really not much leeway on price. You might be able to find the Rotor on sale, the Prophecy on sale, the Pinokio on sale. But in terms of price, all three of these loaders come in right around $150 retail. And what I'm going to do here is I've got a note sheet that I'm going to keep here because I don't want to miss any of these points. And I want to make sure that you guys get the correct information and the most useful information between all three of these. It's a pretty complex thing to do. The next thing we're going to talk about is something that I really like about all three of these loaders. People will ask me, well, is this loader good for woods ball? Is this loader good for air ball? All three of these loaders have what I would like to call basically run quiet operation. Okay, they're not buzzing when they're, when you're out there in the woods. It's not going to be like a velocity where you hear, buzzing when you're in the woods. All three of these loaders, when you're not shooting, are going to be dead silent, which is awesome. Which also adds to why all three of these loaders have dramatic increases in battery efficiency over some of the 2008 models. Let's go ahead and first start with probably the easiest loader to talk about, which is the Pinokio. The first thing I'm going to talk about when I take the Pinokio out of the box, and excuse me, Mr. Rotor, as I slide you aside, so we'll just go from left to right. The biggest thing with the Pinokio is obviously one, the capacity. Bone stock, the Pinokio holds 270 paintballs. Bone stock. And I'm really going to focus on price when I talk about all three of these loaders. The Empire and also the Rotor have now come out with extended noses where the loaders can hold additional paint. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Okay, obviously the Rotor has come out with a 250 round nose. It's an aftermarket accessory. The Prophecy has come out with a 280 round nose, which is an aftermarket accessory. And the Pinokio comes with the nose already in the box. Okay. Something else too that we'll talk about with the Pinokio very briefly, and this is for people that are on a budget. Okay, everybody's flat broke, including me, so we are going to focus a lot on money here. It's very important. Something else too about the Pinokio is when it comes to speed feeds, the Rotor uses basically their own proprietary speed feed, which is the quick feed by Dye. You have to purchase this from Dye. The same thing with the Prophecy, and let's go ahead and take the Prophecy out of the box. It's like you can hear Simon's voice in there. Let me out of the box. Here's the Prophecy. The Prophecy they have their own speed feed for this as well. It's a huge hole to feed with. I mean, even bigger than probably even the Velocity Junior, which is one of the biggest holes to pour your paint into. But the Empire does use their own speed feed. Why is that important? Well, the reason why that's important is anytime a company goes out of using the traditional speed feeds, there's generally a wait for the speed feeds to come onto the market, which is why when the Rotor came out at World Cup, you saw a lot of the professional players and the players hot glue gunning Virtue crowns, standard Halo Virtue crowns on their loaders. It's why, with Empire, when you go to the events, if you own a Prophecy, you better go straight to the Empire booth because it takes about 6 minutes for them to run out of speed feeds. I know this because I tried to buy one in MPPL San Diego, they didn't have it. Tried to buy one in Waynesville, they didn't have it. Tried to get one over at Extravaganza, and they didn't have it. And we tried to get one at PSP Phoenix, and they had already run out by the time I got there. So that can sometimes be a problem when loaders first hit the market is speed feeds. With the Pinokio, it uses a standard Halo speed feed. And for many people that are on a budget, you may already own one of these. So if you own one of these speed feeds already, whether you have one of the traditional plastic speed feeds or you had a Virtue crown, you may already have one of these. And if you have already one of these, this may save you $20 when going with the Pinokio. Also, The nose is already in the box. So if you've ever wanted to experiment with holding a ton of paint on top of your gun, the Pinokio already has it in the box. So standard speed feed, nose already in the box with the Pinokio. And let's go ahead and set the Pinokio aside. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is let's pull the rotor out. Now, Rotor is one of my favorite loaders also that's on the market. My personal favorite is Pinokio. Rotor is probably my second favorite. I really like this loader. It's extremely small, very low profile. I love the plastic that it's made out of. It works great. It's very easy to take apart, which we'll get to here in a second. Dye's got a great product on it and stuff like that. But while we've got the Rotor in our hand, and while we have the Prophecy out, there it is. In fact, Simon's like, put my Prophecy up in the front. There it is. While we have them in our hands, let's talk about something else that you may not have considered when purchasing one of these three loaders. The Pinokio does not have any sort of rip drive function on the bottom. Okay, it's not even on there. The Rotor just has a unjamming trigger. You can't feed paint with this, okay? Only thing you can do is unjam your loader. So if your batteries completely die when you're out there on the field, with the Pinokio, you're just gonna have to shake it. With the Rotor, there's really not much you can do. But with the Prophecy, you have the ability to use the rip drive. So if you're one of these people that completely forgets to put batteries in your loader, it's like, you know what, I don't understand it. Last time I put batteries on my loader was in April, and now here it is 9 months later, and all of a sudden my loader died. I can't believe that happened to me. The Prophecy is something you may want to go with because you have the rip drive function. Pinokio, it will let some paintballs by. The Rotor, it's going to be a little tough to shake them out, but the Prophecy, you can just sit there and just rip drive paintballs into your gun until you get back to the pits, and you can put batteries back into it. So a lot of people have that attachment to the rip drive just because they've been on the field with a Halo in the past and they've run out of batteries, and then they've had the rip drive there and they've been able to save it. So a lot of people really, really like that rip drive on the bottom. And something else too, which I'm really happy about, is not only did they make the rip drive smaller, they actually made it to where you can actually use it. Okay, it's made out of good quality plastic. It's very robust. It's not like that piece of shit they had on there before that once you started rip driving it, it just fell apart like a fortune cookie. This is actually a good rip drive on here, so you don't have to worry about this thing actually breaking on you when you're out there. If anybody has known the stock Halo, you see what I mean with that stock rip drive. That thing's like, it just comes apart in your hands, So, but this is actually a very good rip drive. So, something also to consider. So we've talked about speed feeds. Pinokio uses the Halo speed feed. Put any speed feed you want on there. Rotor uses the proprietary Dye speed feed, which is also the Virtue speed feed is coming out very soon. And the Prophecy has their own speed feed for it as well. Haven't heard of Virtue's coming out with their own, of Virtue coming out with the crown for the Prophecy yet, but you have to get the one from Empire. We talked about the nose. Nose on the Pinokio comes in the box free of charge. If you want the high capacity shell for the Rotor, I believe this thing runs anywhere between $20 to $30. So you do have to pay extra to get the high capacity shell. The Prophecy kind of has something kind of cool. If you want the standard nose, you can use the standard nose, but it's also if you want to hold less paint, you can go with the Prophecy and go with a very small nose. Say, for instance, you play pump, okay, and you're not going to need 270 rounds when you're out there, but you do want a good loader, that's going to spin and get the paint in there. You can go with the Prophecy because the Prophecy basically goes backwards. And then also you've got your super nose, which holds, what is that, 280 paintballs, I believe they said was what that holds. So that is the difference. So with the Prophecy, you can go back and you can go forward along with what comes in the box. You got 200, you go down to 180 or to 280. Rotor, you can go from 200 to 250. Pinokio, you go from 270 to 400. Very cool that the loaders coming out in 2009 give you that option as to how much paint you want to carry on the field. Very cool. Let's put this back on here. Okay, now let's talk about batteries, okay? Pinokio uses 2 9-volts, okay? And from what I've seen between all 3 of these loaders, and from my guesstimation, whatever you want to call it, I've seen that Pinokio has the best battery efficiency out of all of them. Rotor second in line, Prophecy last, okay? Prophecy still gets much better battery efficiency than the loader, than the Reloader B or Reloader B2, but it's still not as high as the Rotor or the Pinokio. So if you're looking for extreme battery efficiency, you go with the Pinokio. The batteries on this thing literally last, it seems like forever. 35 cases, not that big of a deal. Rotor, about 20 to 25 cases. Prophecies, from what I've seen, I think it's maybe between 6 to 10 cases on the 4 AA's that it's got. Pinokio uses 2 AA's. Rotor uses, 2 AA's. Pinokio uses 2 9-volts. The Rotor uses 3 AA's. And the Empire, you have a choice between either purchasing a harness and using 2 9-volts, or using the standard configuration, which is the 4 AA's that already come in the box with the Prophecy. Something else too. Rotor uses its own tension. There's a micro switch inside there. The Pinokio uses a bend sensor. The Prophecy, you have 2 choices when it comes to how this loader is agitated. You can use either sound activation, which has worked great. You know, Reloader B, great loader. Reloader B2, great loader. Magna, great loader. And Prophecy, great loader. And also what they've done is, for the people that think their guns are too quiet, they've also moved the microphone a little bit closer to the feed neck to really pick up on the gun shooting. But you not only have the option of sound activation, and you have 6 different sound activation levels, but you also have the ability to hook up a RF chip to it. So, if you're one of those people that kind of like having all these little gadgets and stuff like that, go with the RF chip, pretty cool, and sync it up to your loader. So we talked about efficiency, we talked about rip drive. This uses 9-volts, this uses AA's, this can use both. Let's weigh them. Let's go ahead and weigh them. I've got the trusty TechPV scale here. Now, in all 3 of these loaders, these are using just basic worker batteries. It's what I've been using for almost a year. I get them for cheap from Batteries Plus, and I'm not trying to put like lithium batteries in one and alkalines in another. But let's go ahead and weigh them. As you can see, okay, Pinokio does have a battery in it, so let's go ahead and turn it on. Where's my remote at? So let's go ahead and put the Pinokio on here. Okay, the Pinokio weighs in at 1 pound. Let's see if I can get that. Here we go. 1 pound, 1.8 ounce. Okay, 1 pound, 1.8 ounce for the Pinokio. Let's scroll this back. Okay, now let's weigh the Rotor. Okay, the Rotor weighs in at 1 pound, 5.6 ounces. So hopefully you can see that. 1 pound, 5.6 ounces for the Rotor. And let's check out the Prophecy. Okay, hopefully you can hear that. Hopefully you can see the light blinking there. Okay, maybe you can watch the rip drive. Okay, so it does, there's batteries in here. They're just worker AA's. Same thing that's in the Rotor. Let's go ahead and weigh this. Okay. The Prophecy weighs in at 1 pound, 4 ounces. Okay, 1 pound, 4 ounce for the Prophecy. Now, let's talk about maintenance, because some of the questions that are coming across the email, and I apologize if I don't answer. Sorry, let's zoom back here. I apologize. It's Mike's neck. He's talking to me. I apologize if I don't answer emails. Sometimes when I'm in the middle of working on a show, I don't answer emails. I just do shows. So some people have asked, I just want a simple loader. I just want a loader that's easy to work on, easy to take apart, and no fuss, no complication. I just want to go. Okay. The Pinokio only has pretty much one setting, on or off, okay? Turn it on, turn it off. It's about, there's no real adjustability inside there. The Rotor has pretty much one setting, turn on or turn off, but you can get inside the gear drive there, just underneath where the batteries mount, and you can adjust that little screw and adjust how much tension is put on the ball stack. So if you back it out a little bit, it's going to make it a little less tension. If you screw it in, it's going to make it even more tension. Maybe I should just start calling it ball sack, because everyone's like, did Mike say ball sack? So we're going to start saying ball sack instead of ball stack. The Prophecy is going to give you the most options out of all of them. Sound activated, motor tension, it's got them all. Okay, take the instructions in the Reloader B, Reloader B2, and Magna, and multiply it by 3. That's how many different adjustments that you have in the Prophecy. So you can put tons of pressure on the ball sack. You can put less pressure on the ball sack. You can make your gun more. You can make your the loader more sensitive, less sensitive. Tons and tons of adjustments here. Now let's talk about something else really quick. And I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around here, but these are popping up in my head. Let's talk about reballs, okay? Pinokio fed great during the reball test. I'm going to be getting that video up soon. The Rotor in the die manual, specifically in the die manual, it says do not use reballs in our loader. Let me see if I can find it. So if everybody thinks I'm crazy, hold on. Okay. Page 7, down in the bottom right-hand corner of the Rotor manual, it says right here, make sure you're using fresh, good quality paintballs. Use of soft, wet paintballs or reballs can cause jamming. Do not recommend the Rotor for using reballs. So if you're looking to use reballs, I would go either the Pinokio or the Prophecy. The Prophecy basically has one of those built-in soft Empire the anti-jam freeways already built inside there. It does not use the traditional beads and spring that we've seen in the past. It has the new anti-jam freeway on there that's made out of that soft rubber, and it works great for reballs. The Prophecy blew through the reball test. No problem at all. So if you're someone that plays both paintball and reball, you may want to second guess purchasing the Rotor until they come up with a reball kit. I would go with either the Pinokio or with the Prophecy. Now let's talk about taking it apart, and what all goes into taking it apart. Pinokio, very, very simple. Basically, if you need to just quickly clean it when you're out there on the field, take a you can either stick your hand in here like this, wipe it all down. If you need to remove a prop, what you do is you want to get yourself a number 1 6-inch number 1 screwdriver. You can take it right down through the top and unscrew that one screw. Out comes the prop, and that's just about it. Very, very simple. Probably the most simple loader out of all 3 of these by far is going to be the Pinokio. There really is nothing to this loader, which is why you saw it on the test. 1 pound, 1.6 ounces, I think is what it came in at. Very lightweight loader. Why? Very little parts inside this thing. This loader just works. It's on proven technology, and that's it. There's really nothing to this loader. This is the simplest loader out of the 3. Second in line is going to be the Rotor. Rotor is very easy to take apart also. Basically pop this tab up. Out comes this. Pop out the tray. Take out the components here on the inside here. There we go. And then of course you've got your motor. And batteries, and that's about it. So Rotor, very easy to get into, very easy to take apart. Takes you just a couple seconds in case you break paint on the inside. Not a whole heck of a lot to this loader at all. So I would put this as second in line in terms of taking it apart. Prophecy, on the other hand, is a whole other story. If you go over to Simon's YouTube channel, Manike99, you're going to see about 4 different videos showing you how to take it apart. It's not easy to take apart by any means. It definitely takes some practice, definitely takes some time. to take the prophecy apart. And I haven't really spent a lot of time on making a lot of shows on the prophecy. One, Simon's got like 60 videos out on the prophecy, and if you go to PB Nation and click on Empire, they've got like a whole fucking shrine on the prophecy. So I haven't spent a whole heck of a lot of time on the prophecy because the information for the most part is already out there. But let's go ahead and take it apart. Now, you guys have probably seen Simon do this, so I'm going to bring the camera in a little closer. We'll take apart the prophecy and put it back. I've only done this a couple of times, so wish me luck. Let's go ahead and start taking apart the prophecy. Now, for the most part, just for swapping batteries, all you need to do is pinch the top and the bottom, and then you need to pop out the tray by squeezing the tabs, the two tabs on the side, up front. Out comes the tray, and now you can get to the batteries. So that's pretty quick and easy. Let's go ahead, remove the lid. So basically you just open up the lid and separate it. Now what is kind of cool is that it doesn't use, you don't have that crazy spring on the inside that always rusts out to get to. It uses magnets, so magnet open, magnet close. Very nice, on the lid, those little springs and that little pin that goes across there can be a nightmare. Let's also go ahead and let's start, let's take a look here. Let's go ahead and pull off the back plate. Off comes the back plate, and the feed tube comes off. Let's go ahead and pull out the batteries so we don't stress the eye wires. Slide that over. Okay, now let's go ahead and start pulling the shells apart. Off comes the left, off comes the right. Okay, now we're down into the, basically down into the chassis. Now we can go ahead and remove that soft rubber, that anti-jam freeway that already comes in there. It was a nice addition. Now what we can do is, probably from here, let's go ahead and remove the wiring harness here. Let's get this out of the way. Just very carefully pull this up. You always want to pull the connectors by the plastic, never by the wires. And there is a little retention tab, so you just want to go ahead and pull that. Now what we want to do is let's go ahead and pop off the top. Off comes the top piece. Now what we're going to do is there's a retention clip. And just give me a second as I pop off this little C-clip. Okay, let's go ahead and pop off the C-clip. Usually I've found dental picks work usually the best for these things. There we go. Off comes the C-clip, and usually I don't have to worry about losing this because it just sticks to the magnets. All right, let's go ahead and pull off that. Pull off that. Okay. Now what we can do is let's go ahead and pull out this the clear piece of plastic here. Usually should never really even have to get down this far. But let's go ahead and do it. Now, I think what I've been finding that works better, instead of trying to push these tabs in from the top, I've just been pushing them in from the bottom. I don't know why, it just seems to be working a little bit better for me. I'm not sure if that's what Simon recommends or not, because when he seems to do this in his videos, he does this on his lap instead of on his desk, so you're not really sure what kind of magic he's pulling to get these clips off. There we go. So there's the motor, and we're down to the board. Now, don't really have to pull the board out of here, but if you want to, let's go ahead and pull the board off. There we go. So we've pretty much completely taken apart the Magna. You know, it's not the easiest loader to take apart, but, you know, like I said, you shouldn't have to get down this far, you know, with the Magna. You know, you shouldn't have to get down to basically the chassis with the Magna really ever. But, you know, some people do like taking it down this far, but you're not going to ever get dirt down here or anything like that. So let's go ahead and put it back together. I kind of learned if you take it from the middle and slide it over, it makes it a little easier to put it back together. So let's go ahead and get the electronics on here. What is kind of cool though is the electronics, you know, there's not really a lot of wires here. Basically just the wires going to the motor, and the battery is about the only wires that it clips right here into the harness, and that's it. So underneath here it looks almost like a traditional Halo, in the sense that you know, you've got your you know, you've got your spur gear here, your motor, your rubber drive, and or your drive belt, and of course your large spur gear. So very, very similar to the traditional Halo or Reloader B. So let's go ahead and start putting this back together. You definitely want to take your time when you start putting this back together. Okay, now as we start getting it put together, I'm going to go in through the underside here and start putting the clips in. There's one, there's two, double check, there we go. Let's go ahead and get number three. There's three. Okay, now what you just kind of want to do is take it with your hand and just spin it. Make sure it's all nice and flush all the way around. And as you can see here, it is. Okay. Let's go ahead and drop down the drive cone there. That's in place. Now there are a lot of magnets in here. It's not really anything to be too intimidated with. If you know, if your magnets pop out or something like that, basically what you can do is you just take them, stack them all up in a nice row, and that's how you know what the polarities are. So you know, when in doubt, you take your magnets out and you just line them all up, and it'll just look like a roll of quarters, and that's how you know what the polarity is. So let's go ahead and pop the C-clip back into place. C-clip is back into place. Take the top piece, lock it back on there. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and attach the wire harness. Wire harness goes back in place. Let's go ahead and put in the anti-jam freeway here. Anti-jam freeway is in place, and you do have to make sure that the piece of plastic is on the outside of the clear piece here. You don't want the anti-jam freeway on the inside, or it's going to cause a bottleneck here with the paintball. So you want the anti-jam freeway to be on the outside. Okay, now what we can do from here is let's go ahead and put our batteries back in. Okay, batteries are back in, and let's go ahead and attach the front piece here. There we go. Okay, so that's on there properly. Now what we're going to do is let's start with the left side. And what you want to make, just like with the traditional Halos and the Reloader Bs and stuff like that, you want to make sure that your catch cup is in the proper groove on here, okay? You'll see here there's a ridge here, and you want to make sure that your catch cup is under that ridge. You don't want it sitting on top. So if you've ever taken apart a Halo before, there's that little groove there. So what you just want to do is take it with your finger and press this down, and usually I just kind of go in at an angle like that. Go down and make sure that it goes underneath that piece. Okay, and it looks like I did it properly. You just basically want to make sure that the underside here is all flush. It's not wiggling around. You'll know right away if it's not in there properly. It'll wiggle around. That looks like so far that is in properly. Let's go ahead and take the other side, which is the right side. push the button down. And like I said, you just kind of want to go at it at an angle. You just want to go at it a little bit at an angle, make sure that the there we go. So how the easiest way I found is to make sure that the catch cup goes underneath the lip and then snaps into place. So the catch cup goes down into the lip and snaps into place. So that looks like that's in there. So far so good. Now that we have those halves on there, we can put the lid on. So you just want to separate these just a little bit. And the lid goes on. Close that. Let's go ahead and put in the back plate. Back plate goes in top first. Push in the tab there. Snaps into place. So far so good. Now what we can do is let's take the, I don't know what you would call it, basically the feed neck, and we can just slide that into place. Oops. So, come on now. There we go. So we got that slid into place. And we are just about done. Take the nose, put the nose on. Let's go ahead and reattach the rip drive. And I had the rip drive already unattached, so just one less C-clip for me to fuss with for the video. But I already had the C-clip for the rip drive already out. Or just the C-clip. So, usually just use a screwdriver, works just fine. But for the sake of time, we will use needle nose pliers. Ta-da! And that is on there. So we have taken it apart and put together the prophecy. Okay, so let's wrap this show up. We covered a lot, and it's important to cover a lot because 2008 was indeed the year of the loader. Never in the history of me playing paintball have I ever seen loader technology take that much of a leap forward. Something else too, it's been driving me crazy. Everybody keeps asking me, Mike, have you reviewed the NXC Journey? Obviously the NXC Journey is not here. I've gotten offers to review the NXC Journey, but I want what you are going to buy and what I'm going to buy out on the shelves. I don't want a prototype, okay? I'm not interested in testing a prototype. I want what the everyday paintball consumers are going to get. I want the final production models, whatever comes off the yard or factory floor in China, wherever they're going to make it, not NXC, but all of them. I want to test what's in the box when it gets distributed out to the paintball. I don't want to test prototypes. So that's why the NXC Journey is not here. When you can buy it is when I can buy it, and when I can buy it after a while is when I'll review it. But let's wrap this up because this was a monster show. And let's start with the prophecy really quick. What kind of person would want to purchase a prophecy? What kind of person would want to purchase a rotor? What kind of person would want to purchase a Pinokio? Now, before I get into that, I want to talk really quickly about you can own all of these loaders and possibly lose maybe about $60 to $80 out of your pocket. If you really are truly torn between the Pinokio or the prophecy, the rotor or the Pinokio, the rotor or the prophecy or the Pinokio, whatever combination it is, buy the loader, preserve the packaging, make sure the manual is in there, make sure the box is in good shape, take good care of your loader, don't go and scratch, I'm a badass HK motherfucker on here with a nail and write all over it and put stickers on it and sand down the feed neck to where it's like, super thin or anything like that. Take good care of it. And when you're done with it, put it up for sale. You'll probably, you'll pay $150 for the Pinokio. You may get $125, $130 for it. Take that money, go buy a rotor, see what you think of the rotor, preserve the packaging, take good care of it, put it up for sale. You'll probably get $125, $130 for it if it's in really good shape. Go buy the prophecy, try that one out for a little while. Preserve the packaging, take good care of it. You paid $150 for it. You'll probably get maybe $130 for it if it's in really good shape. And then figure out which one that you like the best. We're really only talking about a $150 initial investment and maybe an extra $60 or $70 to test and own all three of these loaders. Which loader is the fastest? Honestly, nobody knows, You've seen the video with Simon blowing through reballs with the Prophecy. You've seen the Rotor video with them shooting 40 balls per second with the die. You've seen the Pinokio on a Slater, in my backyard, blowing through paint at like 30 plus balls per second. So which one is fastest? You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. It's going to depend on what kind of paint you use, what kind of gun are you using, what kind of batteries are you using, what's the temperature climate that you're using, how's your gun set up. Do you have an aftermarket board or using a stock board? What kind of eyes do you have? What kind of detents do you have? All of that is going to come down. So finding out which is the fastest loader is something that costs thousands of dollars. And the fastest loader that works in New York may not work down here in Tampa. The fastest loader in Texas may not perform the same over here in Georgia or whatever. So what is the fastest loader? Buy all three and you tell me. But what kind of person would lean towards a Prophecy? If you have been a Halo or Reloader B fan, you like your Magna or your Reloader B2 or your Halo Victory board, okay? If you've followed that brand for many years and it's a great brand, go with the Prophecy, okay? A lot of people are used to having, just that feel on top of their gun. They're used to having that rip drive. If you have traditionally used and swayed towards Halos in the past, go with the Prophecy, okay? It's a great, it's probably the best one out of the three if you're used to using Halos and Victory boards and Reloader Bs and B2s and Magnas and all that stuff, okay? If you're used to using Halos, go with the Prophecy. If you are a Velocity owner, okay, if you really like your Velocity and you're just looking for something as an alternative to your Velocity, go with the Pinokio. Why? The Pinokio, it has that lightweightness of the Velocity. Pretty much weighs the same as the Velocity, just holds like 100 more paintballs. But if you traditionally use a Velocity, if you go with the Pinokio, I don't think that it's going to be that big of a switch. I went from a Velocity to a Pinokio and I never went back. A lot of players on my teams that have used Velocities went to the Pinokio and they haven't gone back. So the Pinokio would be a great place to go if you are currently using a Velocity or Velocity Junior, Excessive Velocity or something like that. Rotor. If you're looking for a very tight, small, very sophisticated, kind of state-of-the-art, out there in terms of technology loader, go with the Rotor. Or if you're one of the tens of thousands of fans that Dye has earned throughout the years by taking good care of their customers, and you want to test out how Dye's product, how Dye did on their loader, buy the Rotor. You can't go wrong with any one of these. And I really want to sum that up with that. You can't go wrong with any one of these. Every single loader on here has got more capability than you do out there on the field. It'll feed faster than your gun can shoot. It'll be, they're all bulletproof reliable. If I had to go, and I also had to base these loaders based on how robust they are on paint, Pinokio seems to be the most gentle, but it's also probably the slowest between the three, but it's also the most gentle, followed probably by the Prophecy and the Rotor. The Rotor, from what I've seen, is probably the most robust when it comes to paint out of the box. And you can dial it down a little bit, but the Rotors are pretty robust on paint. But it's also a trade-off. You guys want insane speed, you're going to have to go with a little bit of paint break in the loader. You're going to have that thing winding up really, really fast. So I think that's it. I think I've covered it all. I think I've covered it all. Reballs, nose cones, speed feeds, everything, and all that stuff. So hopefully this helps you make a decision on which loader you want to go with. If you're looking for a small and tight and fast, go with the Rotor. You've been a Halo fan for years and you love the products that Key Action Sports is putting out. You've had a Magna, Reloader B, B2, Halo, Victory board, stuff like that. Go with the Prophecy. If you've had a Velocity and you've been a big Velocity fan, I'd probably say go with the Pinokio. But do what I said. Keep the packaging. If you're not happy with it, sell it. Buy the next one in line. Sell it, buy the next one in line, sell it, and then just go and purchase the one that you like best. So hopefully this helps. You can't go wrong with all three of these, so get into the TechBB forums. I am going to post up the information that I covered here on a spreadsheet. I'm going to put it in with this video. Just give me a couple days to put it in there. So hopefully this helps answer some questions between these two. I need to go get a glass of water.